Been thinking a lot lately about the diversity, even in our humble church, and the diversity in our families. I mean, we have a rich mixture of fans here. We have Sox fans, and we have Cub fans, and Blackhawk fans, Bear fans, a few Green Bay Packer fans, Illini fans, Northwestern fans, Wisconsin fans. And you know, we families are also kind of an interesting lot, aren't we? I was thinking of my brother Gary, who died at the age of 49 a long time ago. And me and my brothers are very, very different in many ways. He was an artist. He was a musician. He had this passion for Civil War music. And I spent some time with my brother Jim this week, and he was an incredibly good football player in high school. And he was just retired as a music professor, and he lives life with passion. He's a passionate guy. And he's really passionate about the Cubs, even though he lives in Virginia. He just retired, so his family and us, we conspired to fly him out here for a Cubs game. His wife basically said, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you're not going anywhere, stay put, we'll tell you where to go, don't ask any questions. And so he came out on a plane on Tuesday, and I got tickets to the Cubs game, 6 tickets, row 5. I'm on a 3-year payment plan to pay back for the tickets. And so we walk into Wrigley Field on Wednesday night, and this retired professor and tattooed Harley biker, counselor to Sandy Hook families in need, therapist and addiction counselor, it's like he's walking into a shrine. It's kind of the way you feel when you walk into All Saints. You know, you just go, oh my God. And the game lasted for like 3.5 hours. It just dragged on, and he just looked and he says, I hope the game never ends. I don't care if they win or lose. I'm just here in Wrigley Field. And it's the bottom of the 9th inning. The Cubs are down by 2 runs. The bases are loaded. There's 2 outs. There's 2 strikes on Jason Hayward, who basically grounds out to second base every time he's up. And the catcher walks out to the mound to talk. He walks back. He walks out to the mound. He talks. Everybody's just kind of frozen. You just kind of can't wait for the game to be over, except for my brother. He's enjoying every minute of it. Finally, the guy pitches the pitch, and the ball goes up in the air into the right field bleachers. It's a walk-off grand slam home run. My brother begins to ascend into heaven. Tears running down his face. The joy, we're hugging each other. Oh my gosh, God is love, the world is at peace, life is good again. The 2 biggest Cub fans I know are my brother Jim and Jerry Arnold, who sits in the 2nd row at the 10 or 11 o'clock service. Jerry Arnold is a 90-year-old Korean War veteran. He lives and breathes the Cubs. Jerry got a call Friday. His son, only 61, was found unexpectedly dead in his house. Probably a sudden heart attack. He works nights, and his wife came home for lunch, and he was gone, 61 years old. And so I've been on the phone with Jerry in Minnesota just to let him know that we're praying for him. And I can just feel the pain in his voice, and I can feel the tears. And we're talking for a long time, and I could tell Jerry needed some. So I said, Jerry, I know this is a horrible day, but can I tell you a fun story? And he said, yes, I need a fun story. And I said, remember Wednesday night? He said, oh my gosh, do I remember Wednesday night? Of course, I watched every single pitch, every single moment. He said, it would have been a great game to be at, right, Don? I said, I was there. You were? Where'd you get the tickets? And I said, well, I know Doug Klang. I know how to get tickets. And I told him about my brother. I told him about the long game. I told him about the explosion and how it felt. And Jerry said, you know, that is exactly the kind of therapy I needed today. Just something fun, something I can laugh and smile about in the middle of this tragedy of losing my son. You know, every once in a while, I'm sure you do and I do, you experience a moment, just a moment in time when the stars are aligned, when all the gunk in your life at least for a little bit of time, takes a back seat, and you smile, and the tears flow, and the joy takes over. A couple of days later, after experiencing that Wednesday night, Jerry gets a call from Minnesota that his 61-year-old son is gone. And you know how it is. You have that incredible moment, and then just a day later, your whole life has changed. One of you calls me yesterday, and you said, Don, would you please put my dad in the prayer book? He just found out he has terminal cancer. And I said, well, where is your dad? And he's at Payless Hospital. Well, an hour later, I walk into his room, and I don't really know him very well. I've only met him once or twice. And I said, Mr. Grickus, your son told me that you're at the hospital, and he wants you to be in the prayer book. And I said, how you doing? And he looks at me and he says, I just found out I have 6 months left. What do you say? What do you say? I'm supposed to know what to say. I didn't know what to say. And I just thought, 6 months, 6 months. So I'm thinking of 6 months. I'm thinking of a 61-year-old man in Minnesota. I'm thinking about a baseball game on Wednesday night, a visit with my brother whom I hadn't seen in a year, and those words we say so often, my thoughts and prayers are with you. I realize time can be long and time can be short. And so often we let stuff get in the way of enjoying the time that we have. And it's like Jesus said to those around him in the gospel lesson for today, because people are always out to get Jesus. People are always out to see if Jesus makes a mistake. And Jesus looks at the people today and he says, a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. And he says, a family divided against itself cannot stand. That's why it's so important in life that we come together. It's so important in life that we take the spirit and the good stuff that brings us together and celebrate that and not waste a moment. Jesus says, being apart and letting things divide us, this is not what my Father wants. I come to bring peace, and I come to bring people together. It's ironic, I was talking to a couple, I'm not sure why they stopped by the church, but they came by the church the other day, and they had been coming for a while. And then they left. Not angry, they just left and went somewhere else. And I asked them, I said, I'm just curious, why did you leave the church? And they said, well, we really like the church, but honestly, Don, you don't talk about Jesus enough. I thought about that. And that may be true. I'm not sure what enough is. But I think about what they said a lot. You don't talk about Jesus enough. And then I realize, religion, ultimately, is not about talking about Jesus. Religion is about seeing Jesus in the ordinary moments of life. On Wednesday night, I saw Jesus in a raw moment of joy and people coming together. I saw Jesus in my brother's eyes when I said, I love you, and I said goodbye to him the next day. I saw Jesus yesterday in a hospital in the eyes of a man who said, I only have 6 months to live. I could feel Jesus in Jerry's voice over the phone in Minnesota as he talked about his son. I see Jesus every Thursday night and Sunday morning in simple gifts of bread and wine and in people like you who make my life better. For the past 20 years, almost every day, except when he went on one of his cruises, a gentleman would come into the church, pour a cup of coffee, and spill it as he went from task to task, fixing things around the church. And I'm thinking, in all those 20 years, we did not mention the name of Jesus very often. But every single day, I could see and feel Jesus' Spirit. 6 months, 20 years, Wrigley Field, Minnesota, Payless Hospital. This morning on my way to church, I called my brother and I said, Jim, I love you. And there, I saw Jesus once again. Amen. If you're able to, please rise for the creed. It's on page 105.